There's a place on this playing field called energy independence and security. There's room for everybody to get in the game. And you folks are in the game, and we're going to take this to unbelievable levels. Eastern and southeastern Ohio and right here in the Mahoning Valley, we're sitting on the pointed end of the spear of what's going to lead America back, I really believe. I want to drill down just, did I say that? Drill down. I want to get down to some of the issues that mean the most to you folks. First of all, from a legislative perspective, I want you to know that I'm going to continue to fight hard against federal regulations on hydraulic fracturing. Doesn't come as a surprise to you because we've been doing hydraulic fracturing for over 60 years. We've had 1 million plus such operations. Even the former administrator of the EPA, Lisa Jackson herself, has acknowledged that we haven't had one proven instance where we had hydraulic fracturing contaminate the water supply. In addition, the state of Ohio has been regulating the oil and gas industry for 65 years, and many states look at Ohio as the standard bearer, the template. Let me be clear, though. I'm not a no regulation person. We need a responsible regulatory system in place so that Ohioans and all Americans understand that we want to leave our environment, and we plan to leave our environment in better condition than our parents and our grandparents gave it to us in. That means if a company or an individual breaks the law or regulations, we're going to hold them accountable. A perfect example of the states taking action against a bad actor, we saw that recently right here in Youngstown with B&L. Hopefully the public and the industry know that if they break the rules, if they break the law, they're going to be held accountable to the American people. Another issue that I've been leading on in Washington on your behalf is the issue of liquid natural gas exports. And I've been pushing the administration to approve the permits to export liquid natural gas to non-free trade countries. Congressman Tim Ryan, who I don't know if Tim's here yet, but you're going to be here. There he is. He's doing what I try to do. You can take some off of my plate. You know,
I already did.
You did?
Thank you.
Tim and I recently co-led a bipartisan letter that 110 of our colleagues signed, encouraging the Secretary of Energy to open up and go forward with these exports. And the signatures on that letter, by the way, included the chairman of the powerful Energy and Commerce Committee, as well as the Natural Resources Committee. So it's not trivial, the amount of support that we've got in Congress for this. Congressman Ryan and I have also worked together to form a natural gas export working group in Congress. You might ask, well, why not a caucus? Well, there's a difference between a caucus and a working group. You know, there's two kinds of people that go to Washington, D.C. There's people that want to be somebody, and there's people that want to do something. Tim and I are actually trying to do something, and if we can get this working group going, we can start a dialogue among representatives where their states and their regions are impacted by this, the prosperity like we are here with the Marcellus and the Utica, and we'll see this thing take off the way we want to see it take off, because we all know it makes no sense to drill for a resource if there's no market for it. And that's why it's so important to open up new markets, foreign markets, world markets, for the product that we're drilling for right here in eastern and southeastern Ohio. Imagine with me for a second, if you can, if the U.S. were to become the OPEC of natural gas exports, and if Ohio were to lead the way to allow the United States to be the dominant player in this energy sector. Well, I don't think I need to tell you what that would mean. It can happen. I believe that it will happen. And when it does, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to change the paradigm of geopolitical power across the globe. Now, I mentioned energy and commerce. Some of you may be aware that I was just recently appointed to the Energy and Commerce Committee. This is the oldest standing committee in Congress and is now arguably the most powerful policy-making committee in the House of Representatives. I serve on 3 subcommittees. I serve on the Commerce, Manufacturing, and Trade Subcommittee. I serve on Oversight and Investigations. And the most important one for the energy industry, the Environment and Economy Subcommittee. On this committee, I'll have direct oversight of the EPA, including its efforts to start regulating hydraulic fracturing. You're no doubt aware that the EPA is in the middle of a multi-year study to look at the process of fracking as if they need to. I mean, 60 plus years, 1 million operations, we've been doing it right. What do they need to look at? Now, they're going to persist. And if they do this study correctly, they're going to find out what we already know, that we can go after this resource in an efficient, effective way that will produce jobs and economic growth while at the same time protecting our environment. But unfortunately, Tom, I know this is going to shock you. People in Washington don't get it right all the time. That's why I led a letter with my colleagues, and we've got 20 across the region to sign on to make sure, to tell the EPA we're watching. We want to make sure that you're conducting this study in a scientifically sound manner and in a way other than just simply trying to appease environmental activists. See, I believe that if those that are concerned about the environment would just stop long enough to listen, they would know that we who live here, no one is more concerned about our environment, our air, our drinking water, than the people who live here. I'm hopeful that the administration will do the right thing. And Tim and I and our colleagues in the House are going to be watching over their shoulder to make sure that they do. As a final point, I want to make something else clear. You know, the small, independent Ohio operators are just as important to what's going on here in eastern and southeastern Ohio as the big multinational companies like Chesapeake and BP and others. Now, the spotlight might be largely on these large multinational companies that have descended on Ohio in recent months and over the last couple of years. And we need them here. And we need them to continue to come here. But we can't lose sight of the many, many small family-owned businesses and their operations that have been drilling for this resource for generations. While it's great to have the large players in the region, and again, we want to encourage them to be here and to stay, we need to make sure that the regulations and the laws that we pass don't negatively affect those small independent operators, because in many cases, they don't have the resources to comply or to fight off the very expensive legal challenges that might come out of some of these regulatory agencies. So I'm going to continue to fight to make sure that the small operators are looked out for, just like the large ones. And with that, let me say again what a pleasure it's been to be with you today. I always enjoy this. This is just another example of the excitement that's coming because of this energy vision that's beginning to take on in America. I'm going to continue to work hard on your behalf because I believe you're going to become the catalyst for that next vision of American exceptionalism that's going to captivate the imagination and the hopes and dreams of the American people, that's going to put America back to work, and that's going to move us ever more closely to energy independence and security.